So you and your partner, Matt, broke up. That has to have were you expecting that? I mean, it's like a marriage. I mean,
It was, yeah.
certain things like that just throw you for a loop. Did you have that's a big pivot. We have to pivot in life.
Massive pivot. Yeah, because he was the one that I met through some mutual friends when we were in bands at the time. We actually never played in the same band, like rock bands. It was in college and stuff. But I ended up working at his family's shutter company. So like window shutters, they would manufacture those. And I just learned how they operate a business as a small business. I was like, this is cool. I didn't know much about entrepreneurship before that. I knew I wanted to do something, and like the career job just wasn't really my jam. But yeah, Matt was there, and that's where him and I experimented on the off hours or the in hours when we would complete our other work. We'd be, always researching like, what does this make money online, or how do we, whatever, like market something online, because we got this. It was Robert Kiyosaki's book, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, the purple book. It was like that completely shifted both of our brains, and like, okay, yeah, got to get out of this dollar per hour garbage. Like that's not it. That's not freedom. So yeah, it was kind of a mindset shifted at that point. Matt was always there. We created a lot together over the years, but honestly, it was late last year where it was the tipping point. And before that, we pivoted our business a handful of times. And I think it was a little lack of, we weren't on the same path with the vision as much as we were in the past. I think naturally, we're getting interest in different ways. We wanted to go some other ways, like honestly, like what he's doing now, creating content, being a lot more solo, tinkering around with tools and teaching, which he's great at. That's what he does now. And he's doing it very well. It's paying him. For me, I've always worked really well with people, like collaborated, co-create, give strategy, provide resources. Sometimes it's the doing of it too, but ideally a lot less of that because that's not as leverage for me. But yeah, so I do that more now. And talking, I essentially get paid to talk, which is pretty cool. I've engineered that. But the breakup part was starting to go on a ride a little longer on a path that I wasn't choosing. And I was running the numbers, how much time I would spend on it. My energy was not feeling good. As now I'm very clear that there's a time thing. You can value your time and you can value your energy. And like there's a type of energy you're putting out into the world. And if it's not good energy, dark energy, then it's probably not going to be received well by anyone around you. So that's where I mentioned anger and kind of this like tightness, had panic attack feelings last year, like around, I would say like September-ish. That's when I was like, holy moly, this is not good. It's taking me out of it was just too much of a go. It's separate from the family. There was a lot of things that were just like, this isn't what I signed up. I just had to cut it off. Like after I literally got like so clear with the numbers, so dollar per hour, but then the energy, and then it was just very objective. And I had to spell that out in a Slack message, actually. It wasn't like we always communicated, we had a partner. I just had to spell it out in like black and white. Like, okay, here's what it is. It's not normally how I would approach things, but in this one, that's what made me feel clear. It was clear for him and it worked out, honestly. And I think it was for the best for him too, because he ended up pivoting, after that, little after. Can't speak for him on that side of things. But
no, of course not.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about the 80-20 rule, it sounds so good the way the maximum happiness with minimal effort. Like that sounds that was that's how it was written in the episode. Do you want to talk about the 80-20? Because you mentioned that a lot.
I think that's just it's a smart framework. It's that Pareto's principle. It's 20% of your efforts basically gives you 80% of your results. So, I mean, with that in mind, now even more than ever, I'd say your happiness comes from your habits and your choices internally to take a stand for yourself. I think before that, you got to observe and actually understand what the heck it is that you're or not doing, and just like trying to be a witness of your actions as much as possible. And, you could do things like auditing your time or auditing your energy. I had a guy, Dan Martell, on my podcast recently, and he has this whole like system for auditing those 2 weeks. And then you can kind of get a glimpse of like, oh, where is myself? And the 80-20, I think especially the habits, establishing, for me, it's about 10 core daily habits. I'm not 100% on them at all, but with the consistency of sleep, push-ups, hydration, working out, things like that, journaling, it's kind of hitting all the points that allow expression to happen or energy to even express, like working out, sweat, Like it's good for our brains, moving energy. That's the 80-20. Still a lot of work, but I feel like
It is.
it's the work for yourself. It's got to start with you first. And then I feel like everything else just kind of falls into place if you don't hold on to it or put expectations out there.
Yeah, well, I'm a firm believer. If you journal and meditate and move your body, all those things,
Hmm.
everything else flows from there.
That's
I
right.
mean, it just does. And even if it's 5 minutes of journaling, like it doesn't have to be three full pages. It could be a
Yeah.
paragraph, but just anything.
Let it
Like
out.
that.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing. David Allen on the podcast a long time ago, and he created the Getting Things Done system. He wrote a book. I mean, it's
Yeah.
massively popular book. I
Mhm.
even ran for president at one time. But like the big thing was to call it the inbox, but basically brain dump everything
Yep.
on your mind. And just that alone, talk about 80-20 of the GTD system, brain dumping your brain. That was advice I gave to my wife, Heather, actually, because for a while she was just carrying so many plans and systems and reminders and things in her brain. I was like, you need a piece of paper and you need to write it all down. And just you'll feel better.
So, how did you get from being a workaholic, this is what you had, to someone who's a bit more chill and can take off days and spend them with your family?
It was, I would say my wife, Heather, is a big proponent or the one that has allowed me to see that. I think I started that way before. Like I always had that chill, kind of go with the flow vibe. And then it got a little tighter and a little more, like, and I think that was with my partner Matt, but then doing all of these things I felt like I wasn't really totally aligned with, or it just felt like it was just a little bit too much. That's where I started to get a little tighter. But then and through Heather's progression, which is nice because like we co-create, it's kind of like co-preneurs, and that's one of the episodes or two of them maybe.
Yeah,
It's like
they're really good. Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome to have a partner, and we always have been interested in what each other are doing. We're able to genuinely talk about the hard stuff we're going through, stuff in business, stuff in life. Yeah, am I always open and receptive? No, not always. I am human, but at the same time, like she's always reminding me, be nice to my Joey, is what she says specifically. And I'm like, and I knew her when I was still called Joey, actually in middle school. I don't know if she told you
Yeah,
that one.
she did. She
Yeah,
did.
okay. So she could stay. But yeah, no, like those little reminders and like even daylight today where I'm doing 4 podcasts. This is the 4th, didn't really eat much today, but I do that on purpose because I feel like it keeps my brain actually on more and not sluggish. But like Heather just kind of laughs at me and she's like, you're rocking, and like she knows I'm doing a lot, but at the same time, I'm not like frantic at all. I feel like it's just kind of the habits are there enough to where I'm like baseline neutral. I'm not feeling all like worked up emotionally or whatever. There's a lot to do, a lot to go on, but it's all good. I don't know.
So
Yeah.
somebody who isn't aligned with what they feel like they should be doing and they know they need to make a shift, but they're scared. What would you tell them?
They're scared. You got to address it. And that's the hardest thing is, things open up once you realize what you have been neglecting or maybe not looking at in your life. And sometimes, a horrible event maybe forces you to look at it. It could be whatever. I mean, we've all had the dark days, the dark night. I mean, I could talk about those. I lost my dad to suicide. That was a massive awakening point. And then I had my daughter, 4-year-old now, almost 2 weeks after that point. So it was like the lowest low. And then the highest high that we worked to have her for like 6-7 years, I think at that point. So yeah, those were like big smacks across my face. And then there were others actually right in succession along with that. So the last, like, I would say, Lauren, the last 4 years, 4.5 have been like some of the wildest, eye-opening, drag through the mud years of my life where it's insane. But I would never change anything because I learned so much. I confronted a lot of those things like through journaling. There's a self-authoring program. It's called by Jordan Peterson. And if you love what he does or not, take for what it is. The process works. It's fabulous. And it's just so black and white. It's like essentially addressing your past and just reliving it enough to like, all right, what are the things that keeping you stuck? Like, and it's really not until you work through these things like this pattern, the moments in your life that are probably definitely condition you to where you're at right now. And if you're not aware of them, you just might not know
definitely.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know what those are, or even just your limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's all there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
wild. When you get past it, you're like, yeah, feels great. Or at least neutral again.